We're now on a demo AdWords account, so this is not live, it's not going anywhere. I've zoomed in as far as I can, so hopefully you can see that reasonably well. I realise it might be quite faint. Maybe later on in the video you can watch it back if needs be. But basically we've come into a Google AdWords account that's brand new, there's no campaigns. Across the top we've got a campaigns tab, and in campaigns we have ad groups, we have settings for the campaign. Within ad groups we will have adverts and keywords. Okay. The other aspects of this, the audiences, ad extensions and dimensions, I'm not going to cover today. Okay, so I'm going to come down to this nice red button that says create a new campaign, and we've got 4 choices at this stage. We've got the new one that I just mentioned, search network with display. Google would say this is recommended for most users. I would disagree at this moment in time. It is new. I understand the concept. You're going to have people going on search, and then there's going to be some follow-up action if those people go onto another site, and you've got the option there to target them with display. But I would, if I was a new advertiser, I would stick at this moment to the search network. People going onto Google and looking for things, and then you've got display networks, and then if you're an e-commerce site owner and you've got a merchant account, then you might then explore shopping campaigns at a later date. So for today I'm going to click on the search network only. Okay, so we're into now the campaign settings. Now we've already talked about life insurance, so I'm going to stick with a theme for now. I'm going to do a life insurance campaign. If I could spell. Okay, life insurance search network only. And over here, the one thing I would point out straight away is we've got standard, and you would be tempted to stick with standard. I'm actually going to change it to all features. There's a number of things, and if you hover over these question marks, you'll see definitions. But basically, going for all features will allow you, yes please, will allow you to use ad scheduling, which is really important. You know, do you want your adverts shown Monday to Friday, 7 days a week, 24/7? So we need to go for all features if we want to make use of that. We're not worried about the merchant center. We're not doing a shopping campaign. Under networks, we've got a choice there to look at the Google search network only or include search partners. People will often turn that off. What I would say is the search partners can work just as well as Google, if not better sometimes, and I would leave it turned on. I would then put the campaign live, gather some data for however long you need to, and then later on you can actually segment that data. When you look in your campaign view, you can segment the data to split them out to see how they're performing side by side. You can then always come back in and turn it off if needs be. Okay, devices. Ads are going to be shown on all devices by default. It used to be that we'd have a separate campaign for mobile devices. That's no longer the case. So the trick there is to make sure that your landing page is compatible with mobile devices. If it isn't, you'd be able to come back in and do a bid adjustment on mobile devices to either pay less or do a minus 100% to not be seen at all. But the main thing there is obviously Google want to encourage everybody to make sure that their landing pages are compatible with all screen sizes. Okay, locations picks up the fact that obviously I'm in the UK, but you know, you typically we go for let me choose. You can go for clusters of towns, cities, states, counties, different countries. You've got complete flexibility. You can even do an advanced search where you could put in a certain radius. Very obviously handy for local businesses, restaurants, plumbers, you know, whoever. So lots of flexibility. The one thing I would say with regional searches or regional campaigns is I quite often see if that business is very much targeted to a specific region, they would do one campaign and they will use this option only. What I would say is, for example, if let's just, for the sake of argument, say we're going to do life insurance in Portsmouth, then I would have a campaign that targeted Portsmouth here, and I would be bidding on the generic term life insurance, but I would also have a UK campaign that would target the phrase life insurance Portsmouth and variations of that. Google reckon that for desktops that about 20% of searches now carry a location reference. People actually use the location as part of the search query, and that number doubles to about 40% for mobile searches. So it's really important that we cover both bases. Okay, here languages are what they are, so we can edit if we want to target different languages. The bid strategy, for the moment, we're going to go for just manually setting our own bids, and I never vary off that. I would always want to set and be in control of my own bids. I'm going to set a bid amount here just for this demo, 25 pence, and I'm going to set a daily budget of £5 a day. The delivery method, we don't need to change, but you could go for accelerated if you had a sufficient budget and you just wanted to get through it and get as much reach as quickly as possible. So that's an option for you. Ad extensions, not going to cover on this, but these are really valuable. So if you are a more experienced AdWords user, or if you go for AdWords and then start getting some more experience, make sure you investigate different ad extensions that you can add to get as much of the screen real estate and as many options as possible to reach your intended audience. Okay, the schedule, which is now come into play because we've selected the advanced features. So we've got a start date. I haven't selected an end date. Clearly that could be important if you're running a seasonal campaign for a specific time of the year. And then we've got now our ad scheduling options. Do we want to go Monday to Sunday, or just the weekdays, different times of the day, that sort of thing. So typically I would start 24/7 and then see what happens. And then very much it depends on your type of business as to whether weekends work for you. Okay, ad delivery. In this one, the default is optimize for clicks. So Google is saying, just let us take care of it for you. What I would do if I was running an account is rotate indefinitely, because when I create my ad group in a moment, I'm going to have a minimum of 2 adverts per ad group. And I want to gather the data, and then I want to decide which advert is performing best so I can carry out what's called split testing. The middle ground for that one might be if you don't want all that hassle of checking every month which adverts are performing best, you might go for rotate evenly. So you create 2 fundamentally different adverts initially for an ad group, let it go for 90 days, and then let Google take over. Later on, you might decide to flick this on to optimize for conversions or clicks and let Google take care of it for you. But I rather stay in control. Keyword matching options. This came out a couple of years ago, where Google has said for exact and phrase match. So we've already covered broad match, but now for exact and phrase match, we're going to include plurals, misspellings, and other close variants. There's a phrase to conjure with, other close variants. So I always turn that off, because I want to put in the keywords that I know I want to be bidding on. And even if I had plurals and singulars, I sometimes put those into different ad groups anyway. Okay. So having created the campaign, we can save and continue. And Google's now going to invite me to create my first ad group. So I'm going to create an ad group. So I'm in a campaign called Life Insurance. I'm going to create an ad group called Life Insurance Quotes. Now at this stage, because I'm doing an ad group, I would have carried out all my keyword research typically before I go anywhere near this, and I don't typically create my campaigns within this environment. I use Google's own software, which is free to download, called Adwords Editor. So I build the campaign offline, and then when I'm ready, I upload it to the browser view, basically.
Hey, Adrian.
Yep.
I just wanted to toss in, Natasha is asking a couple questions here. Do you have a second to take a couple questions?
Of course.
Okay. Let me read them off to you. I don't have comment tracker working today, so I'll just read them off. She's asking, well, first we'll start with the simple one. How do you decide how much to bid?
My starting point with bidding on a bid is, depending on, it's very, very difficult, is a short answer, but basically you would say to somebody, what is it you are actually selling? What would be a typical order value? Our best guess, if you were to get a successful conversion, what would that typically be worth to you? I would then take a pessimistic view that the conversion rate, you obviously have to look at the website and look at the marketplace and look at products and services, but typically I would take a conversion rate of around about 2%. If they might know already through organic traffic, we might find that they've got goals already set up in analytics, but let's work on the premise of 2%. So if you had 100 clicks and 2% of those were successful, what would that be worth to you? What would be your return? And knowing your return, you can then extrapolate backwards and work out what you can pay for a click in order to remain profitable. Now, if you don't have that data to hand, and again, depends on the marketplace, you're going to have to be prepared to bid an amount that's going to get you on the top page. Now, for example, here we're talking life insurance. I don't know what a top 10 would be for that, but I would guess in the States we're probably talking $25, $20, $15, something like that, probably £10 a click in the UK, just to get seen on the front page. You know, the life insurance and mortgages and anything financial isn't for the faint-hearted. But the standard answer would be work out what your conversion rate is, work out what a typical order value is, and work backwards from there. Conversion rates obviously vary. I mean, I heard at a presentation a couple of years ago, somebody said that Amazon's conversion rate was probably around about 14%. Most of us mere mortals would probably be lucky to get up to about 5% on a conversion. But I would do a worst case scenario. Start from say 1 or 2%, go up to maybe 5% would be a good day, and then work out what you're prepared to pay for a click on that. Okay.
Okay. And she's got one more question here. Let me read this off to you. In terms of picking the right AdWords, you sometimes hear the most popular terms aren't the best because companies with bigger budgets will dominate them. Also, I hear sometimes a string of words is better than individual words. What do you suggest? Focused on niche or most popular words?
Okay. We're going to add keywords in a moment. The short answer is I've never, I can't imagine a time when bidding on a single keyword would be successful unless you're in a very narrow niche. I've rarely seen people succeeding bidding on two-word phrases. Certainly the average search string, I mean, I've lost track of this now, but as of about 3 or 4 years ago, the average search string was about five to 6 words. So as people have grown up with the internet, they realize now that if they want to find what it is they're looking for, they need to do a little bit more work than just type in 1 or 2 words. So I would leave the short phrases to those people with big budgets that are prepared to bid on, be seen for phrases such as life insurance scam. And I would want to work on a more focused area. So in this example, I would be thinking about, even life insurance quotes could be seen as being too generic. I'd probably be thinking life insurance quotes for under 40s, life insurance quotes for married couples, whatever. I would want to be working hard. If I was going to try and fight in this sort of niche, I would want to work harder at finding out what my audience is actually looking for, and that would go back to doing the keyword research up at the front end. But anybody that says to me they want to bid on 1 or 2 word phrases just makes me nervous. There are occasions where a 2-word phrase in a very narrow niche can work. Trying to think of an example, but that's quite a rarity. But if I can just come on, can I carry on? I'm just going to show some keywords.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to toss this in.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So this advert here, I've got now a space for an advert. It will tell you every time how many characters you can have. 25 for the headline, 35 for descriptions line 1 and 2. So I'm just going to very quickly populate this advert. Okay. So we've got description line 1 is my headline, and typically this would be, I've got an ad group here called life insurance quotes. That's either going to be life insurance quote or quotes, and typically the headline my starting point would be, it would reflect the keyword that I'm going to bid on. We then got description lines 1 and 2, which is where we're trying to put in something, a call to action, a benefit statement, that sort of thing. In here, I tried to find as many words that could be related to that phrase. So for example, if I've carried out keyword research and I found that there were lots of people looking for life insurance quotes for family, then of course I'm going to make sure that I've got the word family as part of the description, because we know that any words that would form part of the search query will appear in bold. Okay, so there's an advert. I've got a display URL, so that's what the will actually appear. There's an example down below, and then the destination URL is where they're actually going to go to. Now, of course, this is just a demo domain. Don't go there because you won't find any insurance. But I could go to a sub page within this website, and on the display URL, I could put in some extra words such as insurance or whatever it might be, and you'll see that change below you. You've just got to make sure if you add anything to the display URL, that has to be part of the actual landing page. Otherwise, you will get your adverts disallowed. Okay, so there's a standard advert. We've got a side advert and top advert. Now, just one thing I'm going to point out to some people that don't realize this. Here we've got description line 1, and I've got a full stop. or a period. If I get rid of that, our long ad drops down. So you've always got to make sure that you've got punctuation at the end of description line 1. Okay, there's a whole section within the Google Help section about ad formatting, but that's just one thing that a lot of people overlook, and you lose the benefit of getting a nice long ad that's going to go across the very top of the page. Okay, so we've got a first advert. It then says select keywords. Okay, now we've talked about the keyword match types already, so it says here start with 10 to 20 keywords. Clearly, this is Google's platform, but that's wrong. Frankly, yeah, I wouldn't have that many keywords in a single ad group. That would normally, particularly up at the 20 stage, that would normally suggest you got too many generic keywords in a single ad group, and you can't possibly write an advert that's going to cover all of those 20 keywords. Okay, so they do say there be specific, avoid one word keywords. Fair enough. Okay, so I'm going to put in here life insurance quote in square brackets, which means, as a reminder, that's an exact match. I then think that putting in quotes would be a phrase match. That would be fairly safe. Clearly, I would have done my keyword research. But would I put it in broad match as well? No, not at this stage. I might prefix it with a plus sign. So I've got life insurance and quote. You could leave it that's just life insurance have to appear as part of the search query. Then you're leaving quote as being an optional. So I might just start very safely and do it that way. Okay, that would be sufficient in my opinion for this particular ad group. Okay, I've then got my default bid. I've got a chance there to change it for this at this ad group level if I want to, and I'm not going to go to billing because obviously it's just a demo account, so I'm going to set up billing later. Okay, and the ad group's live. First thing I'm going to do is just pause it. It's not going anywhere, but just for safety. So we've now got 3 keywords, or the same keyword, but different keyword match types in a single ad group. I'm now going to drop across to the Ads tab, because I've mentioned a couple of times about the fact that I always have at least 2 adverts in an ad group. So here we are in the ad group. I can either click on the new ad. I could now go to, this is a fairly new feature, but I could tick that advert and I can go edit, copy, and then I could paste in a copy of that advert. But just for now, I'll show you on this version. I'm going to create a new text ad. Okay, it's given me what it's already got there, but I'm just going to get rid of that so we don't cause any confusion, and paste in a new version. Okay, so let's just create something a little bit different. Okay, might put in that, whatever. So now we've got a different advert. So now this ad group's got 2 adverts running side by side. If we ever set this live, I would let those go until we've had at least 100 impressions to see which of these is performing best in terms of clicks or click-through rate. And then eventually what would happen is one of these adverts will lose. In that case, it would be paused. Or in my case, I sometimes delete, but the losing advert would be paused. And I would then take a copy of the winning advert, and then I would copy and paste that in and make a minor adjustment. So for an example, I might say if I copied this one and created a second version of this advert, I might adjust it so I say, let's get rid of the word quotes and have the phrase insurance, or let's put an exclamation mark instead of a full stop at the end of description line 2. Just subtle differences can make a difference to your CTR. Does it all want to be title case? Do you want to try a version of that in lowercase? What do people respond to? And that's what we really talk about when we get into the realms of split testing. So there's ads, there's keywords. Just something I'm going to mention now at either on the keywords tab, either at the ad group level, or I could come up to the campaign level. You will see it down the bottom here. We've got a thing called negative keywords. So we can add negative keywords to the campaign or to an ad group. So the words I mentioned earlier, scam as an example, could be there, or free, or eBay, or book, or articles, or any of the other stuff that people search for related to that phrase. Jobs is a good one. People looking for jobs in the life insurance sector, those sorts of things, they would all be negatives. Down the left-hand side, I won't go into detail on this now because we haven't really got time, but there's a shared library, and that now has a thing within the shared library where you can have negative keyword lists that you can create, where you can share those amongst multiple campaigns, and that's a real time saver. And some consoles on the internet have even shared their generic lists of negative keywords, so they're worth hunting down as well. So for today, we now have a campaign with an ad group. If I click on the campaign, we're back to the ad group, and that ad group contains a number of tightly themed keywords and 2 adverts. The next stage would of course be to go on to create more ad groups. And if I was bidding on, like if I was, the campaign was, I didn't name that properly, life insurance. If I was an insurance broker, I'd expect there to be a campaign for life insurance, one for, I don't know, disability insurance, all the different types of insurances, and then in there I'd have lots and lots of ad groups. One of the common things I see with people is they have a campaign, they stick in a single ad group, a handful of keywords, 1 advert, and then they go and hope for the best. If I've explained this well enough today, then I would say you'd have lots and lots of ad groups that contain very few keywords, and they're very tightly themed. Each one of those would be tightly themed. So you can imagine here, life insurance, I could have life insurance for different age ranges, whether it's married, for singles, term insurance, whole of life insurance, all the different types of ad groups, and you've got to get as specific as you can in order to make the advert as specific as you can in order to get your click-through rate as high as possible. So enough from me on that one. I think I'm going to come out of there for now. In fact, I'll just come back to you. Is that okay, Mark, if I close the screen share?
Well, I must say, Adrian, that one thing you've got me thinking about today is insurance, and I'm not sure if I've got the right coverage or, no, I'm just kidding. But
we'll go to HOA demo and
yeah. You've sold a lot of insurance today, Adrian. So hopefully that works out for you. But too bad we didn't have any insurance salesmen in the community. They would have eaten this one up. But in the comments, I've already picked up a couple things. For example, I didn't. You were pointing out the little bit about the punctuation there in the ad, and I was messing around with one of my ads, and I removed punctuation because I wanted that extra little character. And you're right. Now in hindsight, I'm like, well, that's right. That did change the format for the ad. So there are all these little little subtleties that work into all this too. And as you've hinted, but we don't have time to go into today. You really need to think about how you put your website together as far as having properly constructed landing pages, and that's going to tie into, if you have a Google Analytics account, which you probably should if you're doing business on the internet through a website, you can set up goals through Google Analytics and tie that into AdWords, or as you point out, you can do that straight through AdWords. But honestly, I would think that the best solution, if you're really taking your website seriously and trying to track conversions, is to ultimately tie all these AdWords and analytics together. And what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, if I take on a new account to manage, where sometimes it's obvious how you should structure the campaigns and keywords, and I would normally do the keyword research, and I would see what people are looking for, and that often determines how you structure your ad groups. But also I would look at the client's website, and I would look at the way their site navigation's been set up, because often you'll find that the way they've got their top level navigation can be representative of campaigns, and within there they have sub pages that can be a clue as to where you should go with ad groups initially. Now it might be over time you've got to sort of bend the client's arm to get more landing pages created, but as a starter for 10, often their own site navigation is a good indication. One thing I would say to people as well in terms of landing pages is not every landing page has to be in the public domain in terms of your organic traffic. So sometimes you might want to create another folder just for AdWords that's excluded from search, because those other landing pages may be very similar. So you don't want to create a duplication filter with Google, but we might want to have different landing pages for subtlety in terms of where we deliver traffic to that's paid traffic. So as I say, one trick there is, as I have a folder, make sure that folder is excluded, use a robots.txt file to exclude it, and take that from there.
Okay. Well, Adrian, we've covered a lot of material today, and you've offered up your expertise. And like I say, you did one of those video reviews of mine, which is my account, which is fantastic because I can keep playing that over and over and over again and seeing something else that what else I missed. And there's so much depth to this, and unlike other things that I generally like to just jump in and play with things and learn how they work, but with AdWords you're spending money while you're playing. And
Yep.
Google gave me a little credit. If you search hard enough, you probably find an offer from Google to give you $75 in free AdWords, and save yourself a little money if you're just getting started out. But
Hmm.
after that, you're spending money right out of your pocket. So you have 75. Well, at least the offer I got, I had $75 to get it squared away, and now if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm wasting money. So
And it's amazing how quickly that $75 can disappear if you're bidding on broad match keywords with no negative keywords. That will go very quickly.
yeah, well, I'm not ashamed to say that was one of the things you spotted in my campaign. I didn't even understand the different keyword types, and everything I had set up was broad match, and I thought I was
Mm.
doing wonderful. I was like, wow, people are clicking on my ads. It must be working. But as you pointed out in the the conversions and the click-throughs, no, not really. So just spending a lot of money on nothing. So always good to have some professional advice. We're
Good.
getting close on time. Did you want to add anything before we close on out here, Adrian?
No, I'm fine unless there's any other questions or anything you want to ask or.
Let me just check here. Nope, it looks like we've got all the questions at least out of the out of the event form. I'm sure, check back later, Adrian. Some people might toss in some questions after they've had a chance to watch the video on YouTube, since some people couldn't make it for the live event. And, Adrian will help you out as much as he can, but just remember he also does this for a living, so it's nice to, try to hook up with him and get the
Yeah.
top level professional advice if you really need some help with that.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
just on that, I mean, the video review that I did for you, which, what was it, about a 12, 15-minute video that I produced that people can look over time and time again, or a 15-minute hangout, just a private hangout. I'm more than happy to do that for members of the community. Actually, more than happy to do it for virtually anybody. No cost, no obligation. Just if I can give a helping hand, if people want to go solo but just want a bit of a steer in the right direction, then that offer's there for anybody. But clearly, if people want to use my services to actually manage the campaign, that's probably where the free stuff stops.
right, right. I know, and everybody on the internet wants everything for free, but I got to tell you, when at the end of the day, the amount of money that I could very easily waste on AdWords, improperly constructed AdWords campaigns, would probably pay for Adrian fairly easily. So, and as he points out, some large companies apparently have no problem wasting money on broad match keywords, and maybe they think that's some sort of strategy to dominate search. I don't, as he's pointed out, Google doesn't look at it that way. If your ads aren't quality ads, they're not going to display them as often. So not just throwing money at, this is one of the situations where throwing money at it may not actually help you in the end. You really need to apply a little finesse to building your campaign. So,
Mm.
all right. Well, with that,
Okay,
thank you, Adrian.
my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me along as well today to do this. So, and if we want to do a follow-up at any point in the future, I'll be more than happy. So,
Excellent, excellent. Well, I think there's probably room with this and other Hangouts to, kind of come back and do a little refresher. So I'll probably take you up on that. So you
okay.
will regret that, but I've got it on video now. So, all right,
Oh, I
everybody,
thought we
thank you.
stopped.
Yeah, I was going to say, all right, everybody, thank you for tuning in today. And we're going to go ahead and check on out. If you didn't get a chance to watch the whole video live, you should go back and catch it because Adrian goes through quite a lot of stuff in this one. All right, thanks.